terms and conditions. First, your real name, Bryn. Bryn Caldwell. Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, then the quick decision not to make a fuss about it. Second, he continued, I still do my job. I will disappear when light shifts, and I will reappear with the speed of a man who just watched a mother cry during the father-daughter dance. Understood. Third, he said, dinner. After. Somewhere terrible and delicious. And you tell me the truth about why you needed a rescue. She should have said no. She heard herself say, deal. Music tumbled across the garden. The first elegant phrases of Vivaldi rearranged for a string quartet with an Instagram following. Go, Malik said softly. Be the sister of the bride. I'll be around. When you need me, look for the guy pretending not to stare at you. Is that your official artistic method? It's my unofficial survival strategy. Eleanor waved from the front row, already mouthing, where is he? As if Malik's existence should be documented, notarized, placed in a scrapbook. Bryn squeezed his arm, then slipped to her family. She glanced back exactly once. Malik had already moved, shoulders squared, lens lifted, folding the ceremony into frames. The wedding unfurled like a well-funded dream. Lila, in satin that looked poured rather than sewn, floated to Nathan Cross, a gentle, sharp-witted attorney whose eyes held unqualified adoration. Vows knotted themselves into a single rope. Applause spilled through oak branches. Champagne sighed. Bryn clapped until her palms tingled. She was incandescently happy for Lila. She was also, abruptly, a small boat on a bright lake without any oars. Wasn't that glorious? Eleanor whispered, dabbing at tears. If your sister can find a soulmate, so can you, darling. Mom! Bryn, Damon cut in smoothly from the aisle. Tone dipped in old privilege. Mrs. Caldwell, congratulations. Beautiful ceremony. Eleanor's smile cooled by 10 degrees. Damon had always been polite to her, which is to say he had been charming when it served him. Thank you, Damon, she said. We're sitting for the reception. If you'll excuse, I was hoping to speak with Bryn, he said, eyes flicking to the front row as if marking his audience. I'm here with someone, Bryn said, standing. We should find him before the reception. The photographer, Damon said, laugh dry. Bryn, be serious. I make a habit of it, said a new voice, Malik's, arriving like he had heard the exact sentence his entrance required. He extended a hand to Eleanor with gentlemanly grace. Mrs. Caldwell, Malik Carter, it's a privilege. Eleanor's curiosity sharpened into interest. Her gaze took Malik's measure. Posture, shoes, watch, the way he centered on Bryn as if she were the north on a compass. You photograph for Carter and Reed? She asked. Yes, ma'am, he said. Jonah and I founded it 5 years ago. We handle corporate campaigns and editorial, and I sometimes wander off to chase stories that keep me honest. And how do you know our Bryn? Eleanor asked, eyes bright. Malik's answer left room to breathe and nowhere for Damon to twist it. Through mutual friends in tech, her reputation travels faster than the news cycle, but it was her kindness to a frazzled event coordinator that convinced me she's the real thing. Damon's jaw ticked. And what do you do in tech, exactly? He asked, loading the word with scorn for people who circled power without owning it. Provide images that help companies tell the truth about themselves, Malik said. The right photograph can make a mission legible. How convenient, Damon said mildly. Bryn always did attract aspirational types. Bryn felt the insult land against old scar tissue. Malik's smile didn't move. His eyes did. I understand being protective of someone you once cared for, he said. Bryn deserves that. She does not deserve to be diminished. Grant appeared like a well-timed deus ex machina. Everything all right here? Perfect, Bryn said, relief threading her voice. Dad, this is Malik Carter. He works with Carter and Reed. Grant shook Malik's hand and squinted, sorting memory. Did you shoot the Caldwell Market District reopening? We did, Malik said. My partner focused on the ribbon cutting. I followed the maintenance crew that rebuilt the clock tower. Your superintendent told the best stories. Grant grinned. He would. You notice workers. Not everyone does. It's where the soul of a place lives. Eleanor, satisfied for now, looped her arm through Grant's. We're off to greet the crosses. Bryn, Malik, don't let the Whitakers corner you. We'll try. Bryn said, and watched her parents move away like a tide that, for once, didn't pull her in its wake. You have a talent for answering questions without lying, she told Malik softly. Occupational hazard, he said. People can see the truth when they breathe near it. So what do you see when you breathe near me? He studied her just long enough for her to feel it. A woman who can level a room with a single sentence and is still somehow afraid of being a disappointment at her own sister's wedding. Her laugh was more exhale than sound. I hate that you're right. We all hate mirrors the first second. They migrated toward the reception hall, where crystal chandeliers held evening in their fasces and place cards tried to predict human chemistry. Bryn's card sat at the Caldwell family table. A second card, handwritten, read Mr. Carter, and Miracle of Miracles had been slid beside hers. Carmen must have worked a last-minute seating chart miracle. Bryn mentally sent her flowers. Dinner showcased a theater of polite interrogation. Vivian Cross, Nathan's mother, with a disarming candor that could sell a church on Tuesday, leaned forward during the salad. Mr. Carter, what do you actually love to shoot? Weddings pay the bills, but your eyes lit up when you said stories. Community rebuilds, Malik said without flinching. Makers. People who stitch dignity back into neighborhoods everyone else forgot. Last year, we followed a program training formerly incarcerated folks to become urban farmers. They took abandoned lots and turned them into breakfast. Breakfast, Grant repeated as if taste testing the word. That's a mission. Eleanor smiled at Bryn as if to say, see, a man who hears the subtext. A family friend across the table, Melody with her flawless bob and more opinions than hobbies, beamed at Malik. How refreshing, she said. Bryn always dated men who were threatened by her success. You seem different. Bryn nearly choked on a sip of Chablis. Malik, unruffled, said, it's hard to be threatened by what you admire. By the main course, Damon had vanished, either exiled by security or bored by a conversation he could not dominate. Bryn let her shoulders drop half an inch. She realized suddenly that she had been waiting for Malik to vanish too, like so many men did when a piece of her life didn't flatter them. Instead, he kept reappearing with a camera and a steadiness that said, I'm here, but I won't compete with your oxygen. The band shifted to a slow waltz. Lila tugged Nathan onto the dance floor, cheeks glowing, veil laughing in the lights. All couples, the bandleader sang into his vintage mic. Panic grazed Bryn's ribs. Couples meant closeness. Closeness meant acting. Acting meant risking that something real might slip through. I'm terrible at this, she warned. I am not, Malik said, standing, hand extended. Trust me. She placed her palm in his. His hand was warm. On the dance floor, he slid one hand respectfully to the small of her back and threaded their fingers with the other. The first measures folded around them. His lead was gentle, confident. He moved like he had counted light his whole life. You're good, she admitted. You're following, he countered, smile easing her spine. Following is hard for generals. Is that what I am? You command rooms, redirect storms, and have an assistant who can rearrange seating charts by telepathy. You tell me. They swayed along the edge of the floor where the chandeliers threw broken constellations over the polished wood. The scent of lemon cake and garden roses rose and blurred. Her heartbeat softened into the rhythm of his steps. Bryn, Malik said quietly, tuning out the world. Are you okay? With him earlier? He was, persuasive once, she said, and precise about which fault lines to press. Manipulation wears good shoes, he murmured. He made my ambition feel like a character flaw, she said. The confession felt like opening a window in winter. I let him. The right person, Malik said, eyes warm and clear, would bring you water during the board meeting and brag about your brilliance to strangers. She stared up at him. It was absurd to be dizzy from a sentence. It was also true. Why are you doing this? She asked, voice almost lost under the violins. Helping me? He breathed out a small laugh. Maybe I'm not pretending about everything. What does that mean? It means I noticed you months ago, he said, words steady as a metronome. We shot the Market District reopening. You stood under the refurbished clock with a hard hat and a black dress and told a city it could be both beautiful and functional. I almost introduced myself. Then I remembered I was a photographer with sawdust on my shoes. And now you have camera dust on your shoes, she said softly, and I'm brave enough to risk a dance. The song tilted into its final bars. Before she could answer, Carmen appeared at the edge of the floor, urgent but apologetic. I'm so sorry, Bryn. Tokyo on the Centeras timeline. Mr. Yamamoto is on video and uses the word deal breaker. Bridal suite. 2 minutes. The glass castle of the evening wavered. Go, Malik said, letting her hands go with reluctance, but without a single flinch of complaint. I'll be here when you get back. You will? I said I'm good at timing. 45 minutes later, after leveraging Grace into deadlines and explaining American fiscal quarter eccentricities in a navy gown, Bryn hurried back into the ballroom, adrenaline ebbing into exhaustion. She scanned the room the way her brain scanned code for errors. Swift, precise, hopeful. Found him. At the bar with a tall, lean man, Bryn guessed was Jonah Reed. Malik glanced up as if he had felt her before he saw her. Relief moved across his face like sunrise. There she is, Jonah said, grinning. Our mystery muse. Crisis conquered? Temporarily domesticated, Bryn said. You must be Jonah. Co-conspirator, tax write-off, and the one who carries the light stands, he said. And a fan of your company's coffee machines. Congratulations on the merger rumors I'm not supposed to know. I realize this is wildly unprofessional, Bryn said, turning to Malik. But could we talk somewhere quiet? Jonah lifted his glass. I'll go document an uncle doing the worm. They found a shadowed alcove between two towering palms, where candlelight made soft constellations on the wall. Music eddied around them, voices dimmed into hum. I don't want to waste words, Bryn said, fingers twisting a cocktail napkin into geometry. Earlier you said maybe you're not pretending about everything. I need to know what is real to you, because this started as cover, and I'm good at building walls that look like windows. Malik didn't rush. He tucked his hands in his pockets, looked at her fully. What's real is that I was drawn to you before today and would have helped you whether you were a CEO or the florist cousin. What's real is that dancing with you felt like the first time in weeks my body and my head kept the same time. What's real is that I'm interested. No cameras, no pretense. What if I'm not good at this? She asked, the words frightening and freeing. What if I only know how to negotiate terms and hit numbers? Then we learn a new language, he said. Slowly, no quarterly targets, no pitch deck, just street light, pie at midnight, both of us telling the truth, even when it trembles. Her laugh shook a little. Pie at midnight is a bold promise? I make a mean peach, he said. Welcome to Georgia. She drew a breath that felt like the first honest one all day. Okay, she said. One condition. He lifted a brow, a mirror of her earlier grin. I thought you were done negotiating. I'm never done, she said. We start with dinner. Not because I need a fake boyfriend, because I want to sit across from you with no script and figure out if the world feels larger there. His smile was small and astonished, as if she'd handed him a key he hadn't dared ask for. Tomorrow night, he said, after I send the gallery to your sister and drink water like it's a sport. Tomorrow, she echoed. A shadow slid across the palm leaves, and the temperature of the air changed. Damon. He'd found them as if negativity were a bloodhound. This is ridiculous, he said softly, voice polished, eyes hard. Bryn, you don't know this man's last name, and you're letting him orbit your family. Bryn straightened. His last name is Carter, and I invited him to my orbit. Damon's attention hopped to Malik like a mosquito. What's your angle? Access? Money? A bump for your brand? My angle, Malik said, tone almost gentle, is that she deserves to breathe. This is a facade, Damon said to Bryn, cutting with precision. You're using him to hide from real intimacy. From me. From anyone who might know you? The quiet in Bryn cracked, then knit. She felt Malik take a breath beside her, but not step in. He was giving her the first move. Respect tasted like courage. You're right about one thing, she said to Damon. This started as pretense. Because I didn't want to be cornered by you again. Because I didn't owe you a conversation, and you made me feel like I did. But let me be crystalline. There is nothing left between us. Leave me alone. Damon blinked, 3 slow times, like a man recalibrating the coordinates and discovering the map had changed. "This isn't over," he said, but the sentence had no place to land. "It is," Bryn said. "It has been." He went. The air remembered how to taste like magnolia. Bryn turned to Malik, expecting judgment, pity, something fragile. He offered neither, only steadiness. "I should have told you sooner," she said, words tumbling, "that the act was an act, that I asked you into it because I couldn't bear this, that even now I'm bad at naming what I want." "You just did," he said, voice as soft as the candle flicker. "You wanted a shield, then you wanted a chance. Both are honest. You're not angry." "I'm not a man who confuses discomfort with deception," he said, "but I need to ask you something." "Ask." "Are you afraid of something real?" he said. "Not with me, with anyone." Her throat went tight. She could have lied. She was practiced at it, the elegant kind that wore good shoes to family dinners. "Yes," she said. "Okay," he said, as if she'd told him her coffee order. "Let's be afraid and try anyway." She exhaled, and the exhale felt like the first line of a life she might have wanted if she had been brave enough to admit it. "Tomorrow," he repeated, eyes warm and exact. "Tomorrow," she said, and for the first time all day, the word felt like a promise she could keep. The next evening, Atlanta softened into gold, and Piedmont Park sounded like 100 tiny festivals stitched together. Bryn arrived on time, which for her meant early. She stood beneath a live oak, watching the wind crease the lake and trying not to imagine herself saying the wrong thing so perfectly that a stranger would nod politely and retreat forever. "Bryn," Malik called, raising a hand. Jeans, navy button-down, sleeves folded to the forearms, a camera bag slung cross-body because he was the kind of person who never walked without a way to keep a moment. He hugged her lightly, the contact brief and sure. "You found it." "I bribed my GPS with promises of tacos," she said. Her voice sounded almost normal. "Korean bulgogi first," he decreed, shepherding her through a crowd scented with smoke and sweetness. "Then the empanadas. Then we pretend we're too full for churros and eat them anyway." It was supposed to be awkward. It wasn't. He asked lazy, generous questions and then listened like her answers were worth saving. She learned he had started as a mechanical engineering major at Georgia Tech before an elective darkroom class knocked the wind out of his future and rearranged it. That he still loved bridges because they were solved poems. That he and Jonah had built Carter and Reed on borrowed gear and nerve, saying yes to jobs that should have terrified them. He learned she still slept with her phone on the pillow because Tokyo liked to call it hours that made sense to Tokyo. That she kept a guitar in her closet and had touched it exactly 3 times. That the first time Caldwell Nexus paid for health insurance for all employees, she cried in an empty conference room, forehead on the cool laminate, because it meant the company had become the kind of place she meant it to be. They took paper boats heavy with bulgogi to a patch of grass and ate cross-legged. Music drifted from a stage no one had planned. Teenagers clattered past on borrowed scooters. A dog in a bandana considered their food with theological attention. "You said last night there were stories you chase that keep you honest," Bryn said. "Tell me one." He told her about the farmers who had been inmates and now tended Swiss chard on land that used to be a littered lot. He told her about a woman named June who built raised beds with hands that had memorized how to survive and taught neighborhood kids how to coax tomatoes from stubborn soil. He spoke without romance and with a tenderness that made Bryn's throat tighten. "We have a community investment fund at Caldwell Nexus," she said slowly. "It's small, but it's designed to amplify projects that multiply dignity. If June's group needs cold storage, grant writing, a website, anything." "You're already building a bridge," Malik said, amused and admiring. "You don't know how not to." "I don't," she admitted. "Is that a problem?" "It's a definition," he said. "I like people who are definitions." They wandered until the sky learned pink. He pointed out light as if it were a living thing. The way it skims water, the way it lifts the edges of a stranger's smile, the way it can turn a parking lot into a cathedral. He passed her his spare body with a 50mm lens and said, "Frame what you feel before you frame what you see." She laughed, tried. Her first pictures were crooked, then less crooked, then a woman's hand mid-gesture explaining love to a friend, then a boy on tiptoes watching a bubble he had created float just out of reach. "You have an eye," he said matter-of-factly, and she felt a door open in her chest she hadn't realized was locked. They ended at the hill above the park, city glass catching the last light like it had been designed to do only that. She lay back on the grass. He lay beside her, careful, generous with space. The quiet between them grew sturdy. "I was terrified this would be boring," she confessed to the sky. "That without an ex-boyfriend and a wedding orchestra, we'd discover we have nothing to say. And now you've betrayed yourself with a dozen interesting admissions," he said. "I should warn you. If we keep this up, you'll have a favorite food truck, a favorite corner to shoot light through, and an unshakable opinion about whether a prime lens is better than a zoom." "What is the right opinion?" "Prime," he said. "Obviously." She laughed, the sound warm and surprised. Then she turned, and he was already watching her with a steadiness that made words unnecessary. He didn't reach for her. He waited. She closed the distance a fraction. The kiss was unhurried and bright with the simple marvel of yes. It landed somewhere behind her ribs and felt like balance rediscovered. Later, as they walked to their cars, he asked, "Tuesday, I'll cook. Nothing fancy. Peach cobbler if you promise to grade me like a merciless board." I am very hard on dessert," she said. "I am very good at peaches." Tuesday came with rain and candles, and a small apartment that felt like intention rather than poverty. He had framed prints on the wall, not of celebrities but of a mechanic's hands, of a street after the storm, of Eleanor Roosevelt in a library captured through a museum glass case with the reflection of a little girl holding a book layered over her shoulder.